At this time, I will now turn this webinar over to BACP Commissioner, Mr. Ken Meyer.
Thank you, Stella. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the BACP Empower Hour. I'm Ken Meyer, Commissioner of the Chicago Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection. Our goal is to help businesses and consumers get the information they need to succeed by sharing advice and stories from Chicago's entrepreneurs. Chicago might be known for its savory dishes like pizza and hot dogs, but we have a sweet tooth as well here in Chicago. With us today is Teresa. Teresa, the most important question I was going to ask you ahead of time, which I forgot. How do you pronounce your last name?
Ging.
Ging. Okay. With us today is Teresa Ging, CEO and owner of Chicago Bliss, located in Chicago's Loop. Additionally, as we celebrate and recognize Asian American and Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander Month, which is May, the month of May, we look forward to talk to Teresa about how incorporating her heritage into her business. Now let's get ready for sugar rush and business knowledge. This is the time to grab your sweets. Good afternoon, Teresa. Thank you for joining us. Before we get into the questions, do you want to tell the audience a little bit about yourself? Maybe even tell them where you are today, which is kind of exciting. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you so much for having me. My name is Teresa Ging. I'm the CEO and founder of Sugar Bliss. We are a retail bakery, but also a packaged foods company. We've recently, the last 2 years, launched into retailers. I grew up in Texas. I came to Chicago. I went to University of Chicago. I majored in economics and statistics. I ended up working in finance for about 6 years in Chicago and different investment banks, private equity. And then in 2006, a friend of mine was actually sifting powdered sugar to make cupcakes. And it looked so therapeutic that I asked her if I could try it. And that was like when this light bulb turned on, and I left the corporate world, went to pastry school at Le Cordon Bleu. And then I came back to Chicago, and I really enjoyed my time there. And so I started, thought maybe I could open a bakery in Chicago. And so I started researching on how to open a bakery. I definitely was at City Hall a couple of times getting my business license and all that good stuff. But yeah, Sugar Bliss is now almost 17 years. Our brick and mortar store is located at the Palmer House on the Wabash side at 122 South Wabash.
That's great. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Your professional background is in the financial sector. What was that determining factor, or what kind of led to a career change, and what inspired you to become a baker? I think you kind of explained that a little bit right now, but then more importantly, how did you end up going to France, coincidentally in the same school as the culinary guru, Julia Child?
Yeah, I mean, again, like I had already had my 4-year college. I had been working in finance, and I just really wanted to get the foundations of baking. And so at the time, there was actually Le Cordon Bleu in Chicago. There was French pastry school. But, ultimately I was like, why not? Let's go to Paris. And so it's nice going to class and then going to a bakery and eating a croissant. And so I did their intensive course, which is 6 months squashed into 2 months. So I literally was making croissants, brioche, like a mousse, like all in one day. And I had to take all this home on the train in Paris. And yeah, but I chose it just, to take a break. I'd been working a lot of hours when I was in finance, and anyone that's done investment banking knows that. So I thought, why not? Let's go abroad.
Yeah, that's great. And I'm sure you must have collected some fast friends if you had all the leftovers of all the great sweets and food you were preparing.
Yes, I did. I did. I had too many. I mean, I could eat 24 croissants a day.
Right. Or at least the folks in the neighborhood. How did the business venture of Sugar Bliss come about? What is the significance of the name? And of course, let us know some of the products that are available and some of your, tell us a little bit about the offerings.
Yeah, so I always tell people your business name is super important. And once you find your business name or decide on it, make sure it's not trademark protected. Even if you created EIN, that does not mean it's trademark. So, at first I looked at the word Sweet Bliss, but it was trademark protected in the category of restaurants. So I couldn't use that. But then like the word bliss. We're not denying that we're sugar. So I kind of squashed that name together, and then made sure it wasn't trademarked. And so obviously we have Sugar Bliss trademark, Blissfully Sweet trademark, but, it's really important because I mean now we're 17 years and it's stuck to us, and a lot of people love the name and it's sketchy. So when I started Sugar Bliss back in 2007, well, when I came back from Paris, I really wanted to open a French patisserie, and realized I had 6 years of finance experience and 2 months of pastry. So I said, why don't we focus on one product and be good at that versus doing 200 different products? And so I focused on cupcakes because that was kind of the up and coming trend. And I said, cake will never go away. So we started with just cupcakes, then added seasonal flavors like blueberry or blackberry, holiday stuff like that. Then I started adding macaroons, cake pops, and then when I was approached by the landlord at the Palmer House, and they liked our concept, but we were super close to each other, so I said, we have to kind of diversify. We cannot do another Sugar Bliss cake boutique, you know 3 blocks away. So I named that one Sugar Bliss Patisserie, and we kind of did that dream of opening more, doing more products. So we did cookies and brownies and espresso bar and crepes. And so yeah, so I opened that second store in 2016. And then, COVID happened, but even before COVID, I decided that, I was running back and forth. And so I said, why don't I just focus on one store? And so I didn't renew my lease at the first store, which is a little bittersweet because I really, it's your first store. And so, you have to think about what's best for the business. So I said, let's close the first store, keep the second store. And then COVID happened. So thank God. I mean, not thank God, but thank God that I didn't have 2 leases.
Yeah. For those listeners who may not be familiar with your location, the Palmer House Hotel, do you have a double entrance? So if you're a guest in the hotel or someone visiting the hotel, they can enter from the interior of the hotel as well as street traffic or sidewalk traffic.
Yeah, so we're on the Wabash side of the hotel. You can enter from the street. We're between Adams and Monroe. And then you can also enter from the hotel. The funny thing is, when I took over the space, there was no entrance to the hotel. And so I had to actually build it out. And not only build it out, I had to make sure it's a landmark building. So that definitely cost me a little bit more to make sure it was all the same material, copper, and all that stuff.
And do you feel like, I would imagine, I'm just kind of guessing, but I imagine that that also can give you a little bit of a niche business because, if you're guesting in a hotel, maybe you do the room service one day, like, let's just go down the lobby, let's go to that cute little shop and grab our morning coffee and get a sweet to get us started, or even late afternoon coming back from, touring around the Chicago sites.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was a good investment to open that door, especially in Chicago winter. It gets pretty cold. So we kind of actually shut down that door in the winter time and the Wabash side, and then people go through the hotel.
Oh,
So
nice. Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Sense. Um, and what was the driving force to open or to pick the Loop out of all of our neighborhoods,
Mhm.
in terms of the location?
Yeah, so I actually worked in the Loop. So when I was in finance, all my jobs were in the Loop. I actually at one point lived in a condominium building, and I bought that condominium on Wabash, or sorry, on Wells in Washington. So
Oh,
I was familiar with downtown. I worked downtown. The funny thing also is that, when I was in finance, when it was someone's birthday, we just take them out to lunch. No one had any cake or anything like that. And so there was only Corner Bakery or Bob Pan at the time. And so I thought, there should be like more of a more specialty bakery downtown. So that was kind of like a business opportunity. Also, like I wanted to focus on corporate catering. So, they spend a lot of money. And so, obviously we have the walk-in traffic, but I really wanted to focus on the corporate businesses because, they don't just buy a dozen cupcakes, they buy couple hundred dozen, so that was one of my criterias. And also, we're actually open Monday through Saturday, but we're open 8:30 to 6. We're not open crazy hours until midnight, like some of the neighborhoods.
Yeah, exactly. When selling food products, consistency is key to flavor, look, and even packaging. How do you ensure consistency across batches and batches of baked goods?
Yeah, I mean, you have to definitely rely on a good team. I have an excellent pastry chef. She's also with me at this trade show at the Sweets and Snacks. But yeah, you have to make sure that your team understands your brand and that, if a cookie is not, or a cupcake is underbaked, or a cookie has like half of it fallen off, you don't sell it. And so you have to make sure that your whole entire team understands consistency, quality, and your customers.
Yeah, yeah. And how do you connect with food distributors for your products? For example, to find the right kind of sugar and flour needed for your cupcakes, and also probably to keep the costs within reason so you can sell at cupcake prices.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing about in Chicago, there's so many different service distributors. Any, from US Foods, Cisco, the largest ones, to Gordon Food Service, to Chef's Warehouse, that do specialty, even like some that do just, obviously we don't seafood, but like there's a lot of Chicago has so many food service distributors, in different niches. So, but yeah, I mean, we have gone through different ones. For different reasons. But I would say that it's always good to have at least two of the major ones. And if you do have time, you can price compare. Like we used to at some point, I mean, I know my pastry chef does this, but like, okay, so this food service distributor charges X, and commodities change very frequently, like eggs and stuff like that. So if butter at distributor A is $140 a case, but at distributor B it's $120 and you're buying 10 cases, it adds up. So it's always good to have that. And you never know, especially during COVID. We had one of our distributors like just decide not to do any of the small businesses. So I had to, go to another one. So I always say like have more than one, because you don't want your business to get disrupted because of someone else.
Right, exactly. Either that or you have to buy yourself your own cow.
Yeah. Or go to the grocery store.
Um, and how did you connect with the various food distributors? What advice do you give to our viewers when you went out to look for the distributor? And
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, you should always have that. I mean, the three major ones, or the two major ones really, are US Foods and Cisco. We buy from US Foods, but we also use Chef's Warehouse for chocolate and like more specialty ingredients. So I would say that, you can Google it. You can also look and see and talk to other people and like, who do you guys use? I mean, you should definitely use other founders. Chicago has a huge food ecosystem. Network them, see who they use, who they shouldn't use. You never know.
okay, thank you for that. And you also manufacture stuff out of your bakery, am I correct?
Yeah, we in 2022, we launched our packaged cookies, which you kind of see behind us, into Walgreens. So we're in 25 stores in Walgreens. But since then, we've actually expanded nationwide with other retailers, including Compass Group, which is a major food service, Macy's.com. We also we're a golden ticket winner for KeHE, which is a huge distributor. They have 13 DCs across the US, and they service over, I think, 6,000 retailers. And so we'll be launching with them this month. So we've definitely expanded, and we're in current conversations with other retailers, hotels, airlines, so many different markets out there.
Oh, wow, airlines would be great.
Yeah.
because they always, a lot of the airlines seem to serve like a chocolate cookie on their afternoon and evening flights. And then what about your online presence or working with some of our larger online companies that Americans seem to be buying everything from?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously we have a website. You can order from there. I would say that every small business should have a really good website. That is like the number one thing for people to know about your business. So you can actually order on our website for pickup, local delivery, also for nationwide shipping. Yeah, I mean, there are the large giants out there, whether it's the one that starts with an A or other marketplaces out there. But yeah, I mean, we haven't that's something I'm going to be looking into. You know, there's pros and cons with that, you know, so we'll see.
Okay, I know, I appreciate that. And keep us posted here at BAC on that as well. Um, and do you track your distribution? Like, is it still mostly Chicago and the Chicago area, or you're like, huh, that's interesting. I'm making it up. Columbus, Ohio. My gosh, they've really kind of gotten into Sugar Bliss.
So with the brick and mortar store, you know, I mean, obviously a lot of people we deliver locally. Like the cupcakes are fragile. We cannot ship those, but we can ship cookies and brownies, macaroons and cake pops in the non-summer months. So we stop around like now until like October.
Yeah.
But I mean, we ship nationwide and we see a lot of people that order and we ship them out. I say for gifts. But coincidentally, well, interestingly, we also see people out of state order something for someone in Chicago as a gift as well.
Yeah.
So it's kind of both. Yeah, I mean, like also we've recently launched on Macy's.com different gift package options. So, you know, we can ship nationwide those as well. So it's really good. I mean, to be able to ship nationwide, especially, you know, after COVID. During COVID, we were shipping tons of stuff nationwide. That was because the loop had basically shut down.
Yeah, exactly. Um, this month is as I mentioned earlier, is Asian American and Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander Month. Are you offering any seasonal baked goods in celebration? And can you share any new items? And why did you select your flavors? And also, just tell us about how often you are just changing your menu. And probably there's also staples that you'll never get rid of because they sell well.
Yeah, so we have two cupcakes. We have the boba tea and the passion fruit. And then we also have two macaroons flavors, the green tea and the mango. And so those will actually be offered through this week. But we probably will extend it because it's been so popular. But also we are partnering with Asian Student Achievement, which is learn.org or learnasa.org. And so 10% of the proceeds go back to that Asian American organization to help. They actually help high school students or college students, you know, get the technical skills to climb up that corporate ladder. And so, yeah, so we're donating 10% of our proceeds this month. We have a package also that we can ship nationwide. And then we rotate our macaron. We have two seasonal macaron flavors every month. Our cupcakes rotate every 2 weeks on a seasonal. So like starting next week, we have pistachio, you know, holiday, we have Valentine, you know, Christmas, we do everything. I mean, Pride's coming up. We have a whole rainbow line from unicorn bar to rainbow cupcakes. So we capture all holidays, even like Earth Day. Earth Day is a very popular day. So we do cake pops and cookies. So we always have seasonal items. I think the most popular cupcake at our stores are red velvet. Everyone loves red velvet. If you don't like red velvet, that's fine. A lot of people like our black and white as well.
That's great. So you obviously have a good calendar that kind of like my team that lets you know what month, what we're celebrating each month.
Yes, yes.
That's always important, I think. Many of our attendees, I'm going to switch topics a little bit now, going
Yeah.
back to your financial expertise. Many of our attendees are seeking capital to start or scale their business. Can you share some advice on this business aspect, especially given your financial background? And also, after you answer that, just let's walk us through kind of that pro and con about opening up that second shop, particularly when you're kind of a small, you know, if you're kind of running the show.
Yeah, so I mean, unless you have a very rich aunt or uncle that will help give you money at 0%, not very likely. You know, when I came back from Paris, you know, I was like, I think I want to open a retail store. You know, I started doing due diligence. I actually, you know, my way to the Paris, I met a woman who did a yoga mat cleansing company, and
Okay,
and
man. What?
a yoga mat cleanser company. They like it's like a spray on, and our flight was delayed, and I told her, I was like, I'm gonna go to Paris and then I'm gonna come back, and I went on a bakery, and she's like, you should look up this organization called Women's Business Development Center. I was like, okay, I wrote it down. So when I got back to Chicago, I looked it up, and they, you know, again, they have programming for, you know, help women entrepreneurs, whether you're starting out or existing business. And so I looked it up, and started like working with a mentor to help, you know, build my business, and like, you know, I need a business plan. I need to form an EIN number. I like all these things that, you know, they don't teach you really, you know, like, and I mean, I worked in corporate finance, so it's a little bit different than opening a business. So, yeah, so I, you know, use the WBDC, just to understand how to open a business, but also no matter what, like, you cannot just go to a bank and say, I want $175,000. I want to open a cupcake boutique in downtown. It's going to be successful. I will pay your loan back. Like what the WBDC does is they form loan packages, and they get all your documents ready, you know, your business plan, your personal financial statements, like, so they help you present it to the banks so that the banks can evaluate. So I actually had 3 different banks that we presented to, and 2 out of the 3 banks approved of my loan, but one actually didn't. And I actually wondered why that 3rd bank didn't. And come to find out, I mean, I was in my late 20s when I was looking at, you know, starting Sugar Bliss. And that bank said, you know, you're actually really young to start a business and you don't have a secondary income. And I was like, what does secondary income mean? And it was because I wasn't married. And so maybe it's because I did research or whatever. But anyways, long story short, she wouldn't give me the person's name. So I called the bank, found out, and I said, look, I'm one to open not only one Sugar Bliss or 100 Sugar Bliss, and I want a bank that will help fund me. And so next day I got the loan from that bank. However, I ended up going with the bank that actually treated me right from the very beginning, which was Harris Bank. And so funny thing is, they gave me my first bank loan. They believed in my company. You know, this in 2023, I actually won the BMO, one of the winners of the BMO Celebrating Women Grant. And they didn't even know that I mean, because it's been, you know, 16 years, you know, and, you know, name has changed, but they didn't even know that they were the ones that actually helped me grow my business. So I'm very appreciative of BMO for, you know, believing in my company and helping me continue to grow.
Yeah, that's a great story. You know, Harris Bank was an old Chicago bank that really always kind of helped out the small business community. Joan Harris, you know, obviously served on so many boards. And that's interesting. You know, I wonder, you think you would get the same um, um, local customer service from BMO now that's more of a national bank?
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is I didn't realize, so when I got my bank loan, which I also got an SBA loan, and very thankful for SBA to have their programs.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was 2000, by the time I closed, I think it was 2008 or, you know, right when the whole like recession happened. And the funny thing is like, I didn't even know this until now when I bumped into my original banker, and she was like, you know, you were like one of the only loans that were going through, like, because I had already like gone through the process already. So by the time like the whole tech bubble and recession happened, so I'm very grateful that we squeezed in, and I was able to use that money to build out my first store. I mean, I had $175,000 loan, and I mean, yeah, I had a condo, I had a 401k, but as business owners, you don't want to liquidate your assets and liquidate your 401k to open a business. And that's why it was good that Harris Bank gave me the term loan along with a line of credit.
And how long were you at the original location when you started like getting antsy to open up that second location? And kind of walk us through that process when you decided to open up a second location.
So I opened Sugar Bliss Cake Boutique in January of 2009. The dead of Chicago winter. We're in a recession, and now everyone's vowed off dessert for at least 2 weeks. So, um, and it was so much of a process for just a 900 square feet. Like you know, imagine you're in your late 20s and you already kind of had that hurdle of going to get your loan. And then you go get a contractor and then they're like dilly-dallying and you miss the whole holiday thing. So by the time you open, it's January 5th and you're like looking at your bank account and it has like $5,000 and you're like, I just got to open. So yeah, I mean, it was, I opened the store, and because I had done so much stuff or marketing my business. I did like pop-ups, and I was, did a lot of marketing of my business, that when we opened the store, we had people coming. I mean, our Valentine's, that first Valentine's, we like sold out by like 12 p.m. And I was like, do I bake off more, or do we just shut the store? And we just shut the day. I mean, I didn't know like we should keep baking. So anyways, long story short, so I like to have that one store, and I probably wouldn't have opened a second store, except the landlord at the Palmer House was like, we need a bakery down here. Like, we like your concept, and I was just like, oh, it's so close. It's like 3 blocks away, like I'm on the west side or east side of Wabash, and now I'm going to be on the west side, and I can't call it Sugar Bliss. I mean, there doesn't need to be two Sugar Bliss so close to each other. We're not Starbucks. And so the first store was called Sugar Bliss Cake Boutique. The second store, I was like, okay, it's going to be called Sugar Bliss Patisserie. We're going to do this whole French thing. It's pink and, so we're going to do crepes and all that stuff. And I was like, I hope I don't cannibalize myself. I really don't. And I did. So, I mean, again, like, I'm not ashamed of, like, I tell other people, I'm like, really, it was a great location. I just didn't need two locations in the downtown loop. So, fortunately, it was only like 3 years of overlap. And then, our first store, our lease ended in 2020. And so in 2019, the landlord was like, hey, would you like to renew? And I'm like, give me a good deal. And they didn't. And so I said, no, I'm just going to have one store. So, which is, thank God, because, COVID happened and now I don't have to pay two stores rent. For the foreseeable future. Um, yeah, and the other thing that was kind of crazy is, I think it was 2017 or 18. I had a major power outage at my first store. Like, it closed us for an entire month.
Oh, wow.
And I don't even know how it happened, because it was only my store on the entire block. Like, nobody else got impacted. And it must have been something underground. But anyways, long story short, we had to move our entire operation to the Palmer House location. I tell you, like 75% of our business just moved there. And so, which made me realize also, I don't need two stores. And so, yes, it was a little bit like, I remember like locking up the doors like the last day we were there, and I was just like, you know, but we make more money now, you know what I mean? So and that place is actually still empty. But anyways, you live and learn. And then actually, I don't think I could juggle, as being the sole owner of Sugar Bliss, two stores and launching into retailers. So now, like, we're trying to build our team for the retailers as we're growing in that path.
Yeah, exactly. That's great. I really appreciate your candor. It's good lessons learned, right? Sometimes you don't realize that when you're in the middle of it, right? When you're shut, you probably didn't even realize you're going to be out of commission with electricity for a month, right? At the time, you're like, oh, we'll have a fix for you tomorrow.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I thought it was like,
Tomorrow turned into like,
I thought it was a circuit breaker.
right, right. You sit on many boards and councils, thank you for that, including the Asian American Chamber of Commerce of Illinois and the Advisory Board of the Chicagoland Chamber of Commerce, SBDC.
Mhm.
What purpose does the board engagement offer to you? And kind of just walk us through, if you recommend it to others, does it take up a lot of your time? Is it worth the investment of your time?
Yeah, so I think I've been on both boards for like 2 years now. So the Chicagoland Chamber of Commerce is like the bigger board, with all the big corporations. And so they also have a smaller board for the small business. And being on the board has been great because like you'll also get to interact with the larger businesses, but you're also like thinking how to help the smaller businesses. And so Adrienne, who's the director of the smaller, she puts so much great programming. Like we just had one with Amazon, and again, it's a big corporation, but they're telling how to like get into business with Amazon. So that's great, and they do so many different resources. And when I first started, thank God there was a Department of Business Affairs, but that was basically it. I mean, there was that and SCORE. Now there's so many resources out there, which is great for those entrepreneurs. Now, the Asian American Chamber of Commerce of Illinois, that is a group that developed during COVID, and Megan Nakano is executive director, and there's about 5 of us board members. But it's really I mean, there's a lot of Asian American organizations that are great, but this is more of a resource. So, like, if you're looking at, um, Megan will send out stuff about how to get, there's a Grubhub grant right now for Asian American owners, or we're actually creating a resource directory, how to, like if you're looking for to support another Asian American florist, so we're building a directory like that has never been around. So, but they're both like near and dear to my heart because I really support, small businesses, women and minority, and also AAPI community. And so, what's really cool about our cookies that are behind me is that, when I developed the cookies to launch into retailers, people are like, how are you going to differentiate yourself? And obviously we're a premium cookie, but I really, as I look at 17 years almost of my business, and, maybe I could do another 17 years, but if I'm going to leave the legacy of my business, it's really like supporting women and minority entrepreneurs. And so, and also like environmental conservation. So for the cookies, we give 10% of the proceeds back to support women and minority entrepreneurs. And so we've actually given out scholarships with the WBDC for certification. And we feel like certification, whether it's being a woman owned or minority owned, has been very helpful in opening doors and opportunities. And then, sustainability is a huge thing. So our cookies that we sell at retailers use sustainable packaging. In fact, we also partner with Plastic Bank, and they are actually a social recycling not for profit, and they help communities that are near coastlines in like poverty areas collect plastic along their communities, and they turn that plastic as currency, and then they take that currency obviously to help better their life and take them out of poverty. And so for every 1 bag of sugarless cookie, we're actually taking 5 bags out, because we quite honestly know that when you're eating a cookie right here, you probably are not going to be finding where to recycle it. So we're taking more of our brand footprint out. So, so far we've taken out 50,000 plastic bottles, over 2,000 pounds of plastic, and it helped over 10 plus families.
That's fantastic. That's
Yeah.
good. Let's turn on now a little bit to the marketing, how you kind of promote yourself and help keep that brand out there. And as you know, traditional marketing has changed the way businesses market their goods and services. Thank you to social media. Pardon me. Can you talk a little bit about your marketing strategy? What works for you? What you think is a waste of time?
Yeah.
How has it changed over these 17 years from when you started to today? And what are your favorite social media platforms?
Yeah, I mean, definitely when I started, there was no Facebook or Twitter and Instagram. But
Is
But
it?
now, I mean, that's the thing, I mean, we we have an Instagram, we have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have a robust newsletter that is mostly like a corporate kind of that newsletter, because a lot of we have, most of our retail clients are, corporate, since we're downtown. But I mean, I think it's you can't do just one. And, so when we are launching, AAPI, like, the specials for them this month, we have it on our website. We put it on our social media. If it's Instagram, it goes in a post, a story, a reel, it goes on Facebook, it goes on Twitter, it goes in as an email blast, it goes in an insert flyer. There are signs posted on all the doors and all the, around. So hopefully by the time AAPI comes, they're coming in for this. So I forget the statistics. It's like they have to see it multiple times and to want to come in, and we've done some digital ads here and there. It can be expensive. I would say, kind of funny story, when I first started Sugar Bliss, again, there's no social media. And I knew that one of my target markets, was going to be corporate hotels, because hotel concierges are very influential, and then wedding planners. And so I, I literally packed up boxes of cupcakes and went down on East Michigan Avenue one day and West Michigan Avenue. And I was like, "Hi, I'm Teresa. We're looking, we're opening a downtown loop area. Would you be interested?" And, like cupcakes, for VIP. And I didn't even know that some of these hotels, and again, it might have changed by now, didn't have pastry departments. And so we ended up having, about 5 different hotels near us use us for like birthday gifts and stuff like that. So I always tell people, think outside the box. We also, for wedding planners. So, I think there's still Wedding Channel, the Knot. There's like databases. You can see wedding planners. I end up just downloading, or actually probably like hand put input wedding planners. And I made myself a database, and I sent a big cupcake to all the wedding planners. And I said, we're opening a bakery, would love to drop off samples. And Debbie Lilly, which was Oprah's party planner at the time, was like, yeah, come on down, drop off samples. And she put us on TV even before we opened the brick and mortar store. You know what I mean? And so sometimes like these little like guerrilla marketing tactics work, so, you just have to do it.
Wow, that's great. I feel like I have like 15 more questions I could ask you, but in the interest of time, let me just do a couple rapid fire ones, and if we've got time still, we can open it up for questions from our audience. Stella will take her time and kind of review the chats for us. So thank you again for sharing your story. It's absolutely incredible. I just really appreciate the expansion, and then deciding like, now I'm good with just the one store, but also trying to get into retail. That's a lot. So when you're running a business, what do you do to relax?
I actually had to think about
Back
this
to
question.
Minneapolis for a trade show. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I actually had to think about this. I was like, well, the honest answer is I just relax when my eyes get tired and I just like have to go to sleep. Um, I guess, I have a dog, and I love hanging out with him. And so, seeing your dog like run to you every day, you're just like, okay, life is okay now, So just enjoy. I mean, the food scene is great in Chicago. So just like going out, especially now this Chicago is getting warmer, just, enjoying the weather. So, I try to take breaks here. I mean, as any entrepreneur out there, we work 39. I say 30 hours a week, 9 days a week.
Yeah, yeah. And you live close to the store, so that's right.
Yep. I live like in Old Town, so I live like less than 10 miles, or
Yeah,
like less than 2 miles probably.
right. I've heard both. I've heard both ways. So some people like to be really close, but then I've heard others like, oh, that 45 minutes, I listen to music, think, it's just everyone's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
what has been your favorite sweet treat that you'd like to create yourself or just enjoy yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I really love our macaroons. I at one point we were gonna launch macaroons and K-pops, and we were testing both of them at the same time. And anyone on the call or anyone that knows, macaroons are not easy to make. And so we were developing both, and then we had to just take a break from macaroons and then roll out the cake pops, and then we circle back from to macaroons. But now, yeah, we have over like 20 plus flavors, maybe even 40 plus flavors, with all the seasonal ones. But yeah, I mean, we have a fruity pebble macaroon, we have a raspberry rose. So I like to try all the different flavors that we have.
That's great. Appreciate that. As this webinar is entitled Empower Hour, please share a piece of advice that you can empower our attendees.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I would say, if you're starting a business, you're going to definitely deal with some struggles, whether it's like if you're going to open a brick and mortar store are, contractors or whatever. I would say, network with other founders that are also in the industry, just of the food. I mean, there's so many great food founders. I mean, like next week, the World Business Chicago is spinning this huge Future of Food Summit, and I always attend, and that's great. So, I mean, there's so many great ways to network, and just empower yourself. I mean, like, don't give up. Like, I mean, I've been doing this for 17 years, and I never thought that we'd be at this mark. I mean, when you start a business and you're just like, okay, can I just get to day, you know, 365, and then it doubles. And, once you hit that 3-year mark, you better go celebrate, because that's the statistics. Businesses usually fell within 3 years. So I would say, just empower yourself. Make sure, you're just, you take those little mistakes and hurdles and just kind of like problem solve those and keep moving on.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. If you can stay around a little bit, we'll take questions for the audience. But before we do that, please, once again, share your website and social media. And again, that address, it's like City Hall, so I don't want to mess it up.
Yeah, so our website is Sugar Bliss Cakes with a plural s.com. Our social media is also Sugar Bliss Cakes. And we're at 122 South Wabash. We're at the Palmer House Wabash entrance between Adams and Monroe.
That's great. And if you got a few more minutes, we'll see what kind of
sure.
questions you got. Thanks so much. Stella, how are we doing?
Yes, we have some questions.
Thank you.
Teresa, you are phenomenal. What kept you going in challenging times?
Oh, I'm like looking at the chat. I love, I'm gonna give her a shout out. Hello. Yeah, I think I have like a really positive, like I always like take like I'll give you a funny story. We are at the Sweets and Snack Show, and I'm sitting in my car with the Zoom video. You would never know, but we literally are unloading to go back to Chicago, and it's like it's chaotic here, and and I'm just like, you know what? I take little. I just like I'm like it's okay. We'll get it. We'll load. And same thing like with anything with business. Like there are times when like the other day we had our online ordering system, there was a glitch, not with our, back end, and 2 orders, we never received them. And so I'm like, what do? You immediately figure it out, you call the customer, you're like, you send someone over there. I mean, you just have to know that as a business owner, things are going to happen and you're just have to like adapt to it. And so I always tell business owners, like the number one thing is like you're going to learn is problem solving. And so I just kind of adapt to any issues that come up.
Good answer. Stella?
Just want to say thank you for sharing your story. Let's see. How did you get into big retailers?
Yeah, I mean, there's a it's a long process. So for Walgreens, I was, WBDC puts a program on called Top Shelf, and I think there's one going on right now as we speak, and they do it annually. And I mean, I was in the 2021 cohort. And obviously we're in COVID, so I had a lot of time to be on webinars. And so it was, Top Shelf was sponsored by Walgreens. How do you get into retailers or learn into retailers? Again, I had no product. I was just like interested. And so 3 weeks into the 8-week program, the buyer reached out to me and said, "Hey, we know cookies sell at Walgreens. Do you have cookies?" And I was like, "Wait, I do, but I mean, they're not shelf stable." And so fortunately, the buyer worked with me for an entire year while we formulated it and got our it's more than health inspection. You have to get GMP certified, which is good manufacturing practice, which is a very lengthy process. Like you have to have a HACCP manual and all that stuff. And so, thank you for Walgreens for believing in my company. And in fact, we did so well that Walgreens actually selected us to be part of their 5 Forward program with Chicago United. So we're going to be expanding with them then over the next 4 to 5 years. And so, again, it's just, join all these different types of cohorts. You never know, I also joined another cohort that was with Capital One, and Capital One's bought cookies from us too. We are women and minority owned and certified, and so certification has opened a lot of doors. Compass Group, Macy's, these are connections that I met at conferences. And a lot of times, like I tell business owners, yes, I would love to get into, airlines. And the funny thing is, during COVID, one of the major airlines came to me and was interested in our product. And this is how the whole entire packaged cookie even got started. They were interested in our product. We didn't have anything shelf stable. And it got me thinking, okay, if the world does not open up, how am I going to get our cookies into people's hands? And so I started, working with a food scientist, and then, I wasn't ready for airlines, but now I am. And so those airlines have circled back now. So what I will say is that sometimes you're not ready yet, and that's fine. Just keep that open door. And then when it comes ready, knock on it and say, "Hey, I'm ready." And again, it could still be years, months, whatever, but you just have to be patient. The thing about the companies, I know corporations, they could work with any company or cookie company, but it's also a relationship. They want to work with a supplier that can meet the demand, is easy to work with, so you want to keep that relationship. You don't want to be annoying to them. So yeah.
That's great. Thanks for that. Stella?
I think we have time for two more questions.
Okay.
Where do you see the business in the next 5 years?
Yeah, I think, Sugar Bliss has been around for 17 years. I think over the, by in 10 year, 5 years, 10 years, that's 27 years. For a bakery or food business in 20, I feel like I should be part of like Eli Lilly, like or not Eli Cheesecake, I think, for me, hopefully, maybe one of the big retailers. I did see Mr. Keebler and Chips Ahoy at the conference.
Did you
So
really?
maybe one of them wants to buy Sugar Bliss, and I think maybe the next chapter of me personally is, doing mentorship, and doing something a little bit, still maybe in food, but maybe do more of an impact, so we'll see. But the funny thing is, everyone always asks, like, where do you see Sugar Bliss in a year or 5 years? I will tell you, 2015, if you told me that I would develop a packaged cookie line during COVID, no. If 2020 now to 24, if you told me I was going to be in Walgreens, KeHE, Compass Group, Macy's, and talking to airlines, no. So everything always changes. So you just have to keep going forward.
That's great. Stella?
We have just a few comments. Just people saying that they thank you for sharing your story. They wish you much success in the future. And that is pretty much it.
Thank you, Stella. I appreciate that.
Mhm.
Thank you, Teresa. And thank you for all of our attendees for joining us for today's Empower Hour. You can watch today's Empower Hour on our YouTube channel by visiting youtube.com/Chicago BACP. It takes about a day or two before we uplift it. And for more information on our next Empower Hour, please visit chicago.gov/business education. Again, Teresa, thank you very much. I think my team, we need to go take a walk over to the Palmer House.
Yes.
And I will see everyone next month. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Safe travels back.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.